So I probably lost a lot, but it's not a big deal because I go on and off topic, even though it's always the same topic. It's very important. I mean, people think it's off, but everything is always relevant, relative. Relative theory. It's like you can't shake that ever. That's the thing that helps you to bridge and pay attention and be like, oh, I forgot that. Okay, now I understand again. This whole part of all the hairs and all their strengths and none of their weaknesses on every form on this earth and around it, high, below, above, atmosphere, everything. It collects and it makes the perfect little archangels. That right there, you could call it in a science way of a living carbon based entity being a, spirit. And it doesn't crack, it doesn't destroy the earth. There's no reason why earth should have ever been exploded or destroyed by wars in Genesis and all these different times where it had to reconstruct itself. But this whole part, it goes to the sun, and from there it takes the throne as far as the son is the father is the son, and it helps the sun and the earth stay alive and never have to freeze or burn out or explode. All these things of the sun lives this long, the earth lives this long. Bullshit. It's who's been trying to own them and play with them like monopoly money. So again, when it comes to this crazy concept, you had three eclipses. Last year they were big on it. This year it's already erased where they're trying to say there was only two eclipses, solar and lunar. This one right here, she did her part. She was amazing, from the Dragon Order and all of that, Tree of Life. She is that reason why she was able to go from making a circle in pitch black and that being the morning, and then also making the rest of the universe, the moon, and everything, and the earth being on the sixth day. The sixth day, you know? So from dark to light, being a light, a sun, to having all of the construct of the universe set up, and the earth being the sixth planet on the sixth day. But when you mess around with alchemy and crazy, crazy demonology and stuff that my enemies have done throughout the ages, secret societies, cults and all that, they were able to shift things and change. Now, one thing I was trying to say was everyone was getting ready for the knowledge of the sun and the earth being the closest this year. It's the hottest summer, and it's, the one that they worried about. Well, why is that? Don't you see that instead of being a dead rock or a lifeless vessel, it's not third rock from the sun. It is father son with the mother, and one, two, three. It's a fourth star. Like I said, little core, Earth core, powerful, warm, keeps the pulse and everything of the Earth. You know what I'm saying? The whole count of the sun coming and hitting its race in 8 minutes. You know what I'm saying? All of that is very important to know. Numerology, numbers, you know, ancient geometry. The pretty much the teaching without needing to be taught, but it has been messed with. It has been meant to just wipe civilizations out and dynasties and just make everyone go have bad habits and not realize there was an enemy behind it. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, if the Earth is the hottest and it was the closest, it jumped from being third rock from the sun, as far as I'm calling it that, to being the first rock, and this time of it going around the sun in its orbit. You know what I'm saying? And when you're able to do that, as far as doing something that really, when you look at it bird's eye view, you'll see that not only this Earth is doing that, but the other planets as well. And what does that look like when it forms a perfect, uh, uh, spin? All three of them getting close to the sun. It shows the three dots as far as being a trifecta. So trifecta, multi-universe, everything goes crazy. Madwire, Big Bang Theory, boom, more power revolution, but not the natural way, the harmful, unnatural way, the way where people were put to be defensive, argumentative, disagreeing, and it belittled them and took away all that part of free will and humbleness. You know what I mean? Powers of principality have really reckoned when it came to just living right and being free. You know what I'm saying? So conquer, divide, divide, conquer. It's an easy book to right away close and say, hey, I already know the manual and I see their point of attack and that whole way why, when we go to war, people side with their nation or their government and the other one does the same. You know what I'm saying? One Earth, if it was just one Earth and there was no other universes, wouldn't it just want to stand together and live? But somehow, with multi universes and all of this bridging form of time, continuance, discontinuance, that whole 4,000 or 5,000 years for the Earth to renew, and some civilizations been wiped out in the blink of an eye, that has a lot of construct, a lot of gravity, towards the matter that I speak of. You know what I mean? It's what's keeping everything unfolded and it's been, you know, hidden there, but at the same time, it had to be hidden because enemies were trying to wipe it out. All the truth information, you look at how there's ruins and things are broken, tablets, walls. I mean, people really took into using sledgehammers, that type of stuff, to destroy stuff that was actually helping people know the truth. So putting things out there in simple form, it's been a long time of doing Genesis and trying to figure out who the enemies were and were they, just people that, you know, pledged to a different power and wanted to destroy, you know, God of life, immunity and stuff. Because this whole part of blocking out the sun, this whole part of, life turns to death, light turns to darkness. It don't matter if it was put in a movie to throw you off or at least keep its invisible, principle, its purpose of being a subliminal message, a little bit of a clue, even though it seems so shocking. It's like, this is too crazy, this is too real. It is, and it's always going to be like that because what people lived in was a fantasy, and that's part of the lucid dream cycle. You know what I mean? You can't always have a vanilla sky when darkness is actually clouding your mind and making you think. Just like the photon theory, phantom photon theory that I created, it is true that at light of day, that is where you're actually using your eyes to see. But at nighttime, you're feeding your eyes information based off the negative photons and electrons that we're eating. So, dead electrons, portals, gateways, bad juju, boogeyman, seen ghosts, stir of echoes. That whole thing is part of its molecular concept of stripping you from the truth and what is real and what's not. So it will leave some people talking about things looking all scared, freaked out, and it will get some people into mental hospitals and other people right away thinking that's the best medicine for everybody that is either speaking the truth and keeping their sanity or losing their sanity because they're so shocked and freaked out from their experiences. So, Dr. Victoria Isokar is not only a master, uh, not philanthropist yet, because, I wanted to get everybody rich, and that meant everybody, but, master botanist and, highest archy when it comes to all knowledge and information. I mean, people don't like to see this dude that's not the beautiful boy they expected, but what I teach, I could sound a little bit more like Jesus. In that hearsay for there, I speak to you, my brother. And you know what I mean? Or I could just be like, this is 2025. resurrected. I'm speaking how I speak, and the horrendous life that has thrown me in the dark of what I call Indian in the cupboard. That is a huge subliminal message as far as a lot of San Diegans put to sleep while they were host to something that was kind of a very dark city for a while. So going through this genesis, I've had to keep coming back being a phoenix. And we all know the whole story with Phoenix, how it always comes back from the ashes. Well, I didn't rise from the dirt as far as being a vampire or a zombie. I rise from the ashes. You know what I'm saying? Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, very, very real. Victoria Chuska. Don't forget about the 10,000-foot mountain, the range. Like I said, California, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. That's your big bridge point of where ancient Egypt used to be. That's your big bridge point of where ancient Greece and the Mount Olympians were. That's your big bridge of the first pyramids that were Inca and Aztec. That's your big bridge of where all the gold originally was. They kept going to the underworlds and different places as far as it leaving Earth and being on very much Earth in different realms. You know what I'm saying? So the crazy information that I have shock you, but once he did something of a purge and merge, God's wrath, this whole part that is not only spiritual and very crazy on the fiction, non-fiction point of view for some, it's very much adequate with exactly what happened, putting it into a beautiful love story here and there. It's just sad how instead of being a beautiful love story, it ended up just making you think that so and so are the bad people here and there. You know what I'm saying? There was a Satan that was in Germany, and you got to remember Germany wasn't always right there because everything came from North America. Everything bridged with North America. Everything that was connected to North America obviously is either barely still attached or separated from America. You know what I'm saying? North Star shining always at the north point of the earth, looking right back. The little moon reflecting the feminism of the earth because of the little baby that's inside of there. And so it's always been Big Brother being my brother's keeper, the morning star, rising light, Lucifer, as they call him. And then you have, switch spots with that one, the big sun, where the feminine, masculine, yin and yang, perfect circle. When they were created, boom, they put all of their intellect before creation was created, and they were able to be boom already. Marriage as well as created. You know what I mean? And a universe, young universe when it was. And all I can say is when it was put into marriage, you marry your partner and you become uh, two souls as one, two spirits as one. You're still in two vessels, but it is two being one skin, one vessel. You know what I mean? Marriage bridge. So this one looks backwards to everyone because of how it started, feminine and masculine together, and then us being at the very bottom of everything. From mortal to ascending to archangel to being a full-grown God, where you are able to master your destiny, take care of your universe, and you get handed your keys to your universe. But you don't forget the universe that you're created in, where you got your keys for your universe, because in your eyes is the window to your soul. Well, that's kind of closed off only for media, so it doesn't keep sucking out the life. So many ways for glaucoma and you know just having terrible memory or thoughts or being programmed. All this type of way of not only hearing subliminal messages, but eating with your eyes, where one is getting filled with all kinds of information that goes to your brain, while the other one ends up just rotting and it ends up feeding your brain little black microdots called cancer uh, the starting of cancer. Shows in the brain, even though it worked its way originally in the body, and then it finally showed its headquarters, as you call it, the little black hole that it's bridged to. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important. I know it's kind of scattered here and there. I would like to get it all, quickly adaptable for everyone to be able to, you know, focus and pay attention to this because this is crazy stuff. When you thought about relativity theory and they were teaching it in a college course, I saw one little thing where it was like the dude puts the sun on a blanket and it's stretched out so it barely makes a little cup while he spins the earth and it starts doing that thing of spinning, but it doesn't go into a toilet bowl. It doesn't do that toilet bowl shot. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be on a perfect scale of going around the sun and not needing to worry about moving as far as the whole pickup of a solar system getting shot, thrown, or not realizing that something's happening where everything's loosely out of place. If this wasn't uh, the sixth planet originally, and like I said, the whole purge emerge down the line, no matter what, parallel, even if the planets are in different parts of the orbit, it's still like if they're aligned, where when they get hit, it's the same exact time frequency because of the distance and duration, quantum thinking part of the mechanics and that part. So from here, you could have stayed happy here. Instead, everything got shot out and moved. That's what made things happen where you're in this time and that's the beginning. You know what I mean? So that's very important to purge and merge, God and wrath, mother and father worried about everybody. And this one right here being an earth split. And as some scientists will call it, a mission and a purpose, others will call it the natural neutral earth became a positive and a negative. You know what I'm saying? So, with all of that being said, once they start going into some messed up forms of interacting multi-universe stuff, not just the Flash or you know uh, Transformers or Ninja Turtles, any of those that show some type of Zion or Metatron's cube purging this Earth has to be sacrificed to have their life, their planet, where they come from, stay alive. Like that's BS. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you, even though it was in movies where you're like, oh, he got his stuff from movies. No, I bridged that part that's real, and it's in movies that is the same concept being parallel and relative to prophecy. And everyone has